My name is Robert Christopher Wayne Weathers. I live at 3102 Center Hill Road, Edgar, Mississippi, 38841. I am under attack by Scientology. So this is what I have experienced. There's more space in the universe than humans can see. There are 11 dimensions. These dimensions reside within the particle itself. Inside of the particles in which we consist of lie 11 dimensions. You can consider our third dimension as a shell. The third dimensional world. It is a shell. There is something within us, another place. They call this place the inverse. We have biology in this other place, 11 dimensional biology that resides within the particle itself. The human genome produces an 11 dimensional humanoid with a head covering, usually has horns. We have extra dimensional biology. So we have body parts that we don't have in the third dimension. We have soul tubes and waste tubes that come out of our feet. We have short arms and big hands. We are literally designed to fly into outer space in the afterlife, live among the stars. This is the human experience. Okay, in our dead people in the afterlife, we have special abilities. We have very powerful eyesight. We can see in all dimensions down to the molecular level. We can fly. In a healthy environment, we can even do magic. We can move particles around with our eyes. And we have the ability to manipulate biologies on a very complex level. So we can see energy flowing through a biology. We can see brain and central nervous system tissues lighting up, functioning. We can see particles flowing through our biology, fluids and blood. We can even manipulate genetic material. We can modify DNA. Since ancient times, these abilities have been utilized to help life on this planet develop and grow. We even helped humans achieve an afterlife. We helped them achieve spacefaring biology. We helped them develop a head covering and these biological features that allow us to survive the extremities of outer space. This is what these abilities are supposed to be used for. So Scientology, it is the practice of utilizing this extra dimensional biology while you are still among the living. They remove it from themselves and they utilize technology and techniques to turn it into an upper dimensional vehicle. So when our biologies come out of us, when they grow out of us, there are 11 dimensions. So it grows into the next three dimensions and it forms a biology. Then it crosses a boundary and grows into the next three dimensions. And it forms a layer on top of that biology. And then it does the same with the next three dimensions and so on and so forth. So you wind up with a biology inside of a biology inside of a biology. That's what it looks like, layers. The whole thing produces an Anunnaki. We are of the Anunnaki bloodline. So Scientologists will remove this Anunnaki from themselves. In every three dimensions, they like to cut themselves. They like to cut the dimensions off of themselves. and they wind up with three biologies in outer space. These biologies can't function like this. They can't function being cut to pieces. And they miss out on the death cleave or the death rays. Anunnakis, when we die, we do something called turning around or pulling inward. We actually grab everything we are made of and pull it deep inside of ourselves, all the way to the 11th dimension. And we turn around. We face a different direction, opposite, backwards. And we go that way. So we pull particles inside of ourselves. In a healthy environment, if a human is very healthy when they die, they literally pull particles out of their environment. They pull the oxygen in the ground with them. Some of them literally put a hole in the ground when they die. When they turn around, they are healthy. They have all of their biologies attached. Scientologists miss out on this practice. They don't pull these particles in with them. They get chopped to pieces and they're very fragile. They are not healthy. As they miss out on this turning around event, pulling it into themselves. And they can't function anymore because they are not whole. Body parts or organs and brain tissue and everything is cut to pieces. So they try to utilize organs and tissues from other humans and other species in an attempt to make themselves whole again, to make themselves function properly. So they steal body parts and biologies from other humans, reptiles, from insects and worms to incorporate and modify their biology to try to make themselves whole and function properly. So they make lizard people with lizard body parts, they make insectoids with bug body parts, and they make worm people with worm body parts. And then there's the alien form. So there are several different alien forms. There's the blue blood form, which is supposed to be more whole and a healthier uh, modification. Blue blood aliens. Then there's the grays, which is an in between. And then there's the greens, which is more of a. I think they are facing the opposite way. They are Anunnaki. So these people are not turned around. These alien forms, these bug and lizard people they create, they are not facing the other way. They are facing this way. They are facing towards the living, same way our third dimensions do. It is not a true experience. It is very unnatural. Your particles are facing the wrong way. And these people interfere with the living. They interact with the living, mainly for Scientology practices. So these aliens, these lizards and bugs, alien forms, they can no longer produce homeostasis. They can't produce their own biochemical electricity like a normal human or a normal Anunnaki can. So they had to utilize artificial stimulation to make themselves function, to give themselves energy. So this soul tube that I discussed, it appears to be some kind of sexual organ. It is a tube that runs the length of our spinal column into our brain, right into the center of it. It is an extra dimensional body appendage, and it interfaces with our sexual organs. So it has a little drum like on it, and it has nerves that come out, and they go. It is part of our sexual reproductive system. We utilize this body part while we are still among the living. People just don't know about it. This is something to do with orgasms or something. It produces an extreme sensation when we have intercourse. Now your whole body lights up and sees out almost an extreme orgasm. I think that's what this appendage is utilized for. So these Scientologists, they run an electrode up and attach it to your soul tube, which is filled with nerves and blood vessels, and it goes straight into your brain. And this is how they produce their electricity, their biochemical electricity that allows them to function. It is a disgusting mess. And they're all facing the wrong way. So the Scientology community has become extremely criminal. It has become a criminal enterprise. They are interfering with the living in ways that we can't understand. So they like to steal body parts for their Scientology practices. Well, I guess I better explain the technology first. So Scientologists use biotech. It is technology that interfaces with their technology, with their biology. And then there is the entanglement problem. So our third dimensions is entangled with our inverse, inner dimensions. It is within the particle itself. It is of the same particle. So you can't take energy out of a particle. The particle will be destroyed. So what happens is the universe or the space time, it conforms to try to ensure that the energy stays within the particle. So if you remove an extra dimensional body part and take it far from you, you are still in this biology, especially if it's brain or central nervous system tissue, no matter how far away it goes from you. So what happens is space time starts to shrink. The further you take this biology away from you, space time shrinks in between it. So it appears that there's no space in between the removed biology, and you are still in this biology if it's removed from you. So Scientologists use this entanglement property for a hive mind system. So they remove brain tissue, usually brain stems, thalamus and eye tissue, and other central nervous system tissue. And they have a compound on Earth in which they store this biology. So they stick it in a little pod or a little box, and they install it into a wall, which is a computer system. And they use electrodes and sensors to interface this removed biology to a computer system. This is part of their hive mind tech. So it gives them telepathy. It allows them to communicate with each other at a distance, internal. It allows them to interact with each other in a digital landscape so they can see each other and interact with each other. They can even have sexual intercourse with each other with the proper uh, technology and techniques. And this compound or this storage system, it acts as a control center or a command center for these Scientologists to operate their upper dimensional biologies. So they remove some brain tissue and put it into the hive mind. Then they remove the rest of their biology and turn it into their upper dimensions. So then they also utilize technology for our third dimension, our third dimensional biologies. They interface this extra dimensional technology with our brain and central nervous system. And this acts as they can uh, utilize, this is a phone service for one. They can see and hear things, and they can communicate with each other in a digital landscape. This is part of their hive mind tech. It can also record sensory perception organs. So it records what we see and hear and feel and taste and smell. As they call this technology preservision. It preserves our vision. It records our vision. And they can interface it with your entire central nervous system. So it is part of their hive mind technology. It is highly invasive. They actually have to remove skull or uh, your cranium, your skull. They have to remove part of it, and they have to cut into you to install these devices and stuff. Yes, our third dimensions can't see it. It is sick, disgusting. So this technology also allows them to drive surrogates. So it allows them to drive other organisms that aren't their own. So in the same manner they drive their upper dimensions, they can also drive other organisms. They can drive humans, animals, insects, and worms in any dimension. They can even drive third dimensional biology with technology and technique. And then lastly, it artificially stimulates neural tissue. So they can isolate individual neurons, memories, and thought patterns and stimulate this area of our brain. So they can make you experience a memory or they can stimulate a thought pattern. They can also stimulate the emotional center of our brain. They can make you cry or feel joy. They can give you pleasure. So they can cause your nerves to have an endorphin response. And they can stimulate your sexual organs. So they can have sexual relations from a remote location. So they also have a screen. It interfaces with your thalamus and the visual cortex of your brain. And you can drive this screen yourself. So in the same manner that you have a visual thinking process, you can also stimulate this technology and put it on a digital screen. You can hear each other. They can make you hear things and see things. Yes, I've seen the aliens. These cut to pieces humans. I've also seen the Nanakai. So the Scientology community has become a criminal enterprise. They are interacting with humans in a very hostile manner. First off, they like to force assimilation upon people. So if you have any kind of influence, power, or authority in this society, or any kind of special employment, they like to force you to assimilate. So they like to force you to practice Scientology so you can be part of their hive mind. So these leaders, these Scientology leaders, can control your influence or power or authority. And also, so these institutions, these businesses, and the government and politicians, they can also use Scientology to try to control or manipulate the population. Social media and marketing companies and media companies, even big businesses and the government, they like to remove brain tissue, central nervous system tissue from the public in mass. And they have a storage system for this for the public, in which they steal body parts, extra dimensional biology from civilians, the public, and they are unaware of it. So first they do this to read their minds, so they can read your thoughts. They can see what you see and hear what you hear. They can invade your privacy. And they do this in an attempt to try to get an understanding of what you consume, what you buy, your environment, and they try to show you ads, internet ads, and commercials to try to get you to consume more, to purchase more. They're trying to increase profit for these businesses. The government also does it for surveillance purposes. Else, they make surrogates on Earth. And they try to control people's behavior. But we're also seeing uh, the government hurting people. They are trying to exacerbate mental health, mental issues among people, so they can profit off of their behavior, either through the Department of Justice or through the medicine pharmaceutical companies. They try to make people sick, exacerbate drug use, cause problems. We're seeing the military uh, poison the environment with uh, parasites, viruses, and bad microbes. They are responsible for the corona outbreak, the COVID outbreak. And I'm witnessing them contaminating our environments and our water supplies with parasites. They use kingfishes, A-worms, bagworms, trailing worms, and other species of parasites to try to harm the population. They have bad psychology. For one, these are combat professionals on American soil. And the CDC is also doing this for a profit. They are making money off of this, and they are just getting joy from it. Period. It is part of their employment. So this technology also elevates neurochemistry. They send energy through their neurons, and it stimulates a neurochemical metabolism, which means it elevates neurochemicals like dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin. It has an extremely narcotic-like effect upon the user. So these Scientologists are getting really high. It appears that they are on narcotics. So first off, they are conditioned to remove body parts from people. It is what they do for a living. This is Scientology. Scientology is literally the act of removing biology's body parts from humans and other organisms to use for Scientology and surrogate purposes. And then they are criminal. So they do things like they force assimilation, they exploit people, they kidnap people, they traffic humans, they invade people's privacy, invade their homes and businesses. They use their upper dimensions as lookouts to see people coming and going from their homes and businesses. So they can break and enter in the third dimension to steal things, gather information, or modify your environment in some way. They're utilizing biological weapons of mass destruction, parasites, microbes, and viruses. They have torture and rape victims constantly and murder people. They like to create surrogates just to commit criminal activity. And if you are somehow a threat to them or against their agenda in any way, they will sabotage your life. They will cause sickness and pain. They will use torture devices on you. They will try to control your behavior. They will hurt your family members. And it usually ultimately ends to death in these people. Yes, this is Scientology. They call this the free zone, but the church is involved too. The church. Yes, and they like to commit acts of terrorism. They like to contaminate our food and water supply with parasites and other contaminants that harm the life in this environment, either your home or a water source. They use drones to drop contaminants. They use other organisms like houseflies and insects to spread parasites. So they can literally drive a housefly right into your drink carrying a load of parasites. Please get away from me. I'm being assaulted bad. Torture. So I used to be a political activist on Facebook. I was very political. I had a large following, or there was a large group. We debated politics, elected officials, laws, policy, environmental issues, and we persuaded a lot of uh, government activities like elections and lawmaking and policies. I was also a writer, an author. I wrote a lot. I inspired a lot of people to write their own books. I enjoyed doing this for people. Someone decided to practice Scientology on me. They forced me to assimilate. So they stole brain tissue and installed devices. I started hearing voices coming out of my television and radios and stuff. They were extremely controlling, very hostile. I could sense their demeanor, and my life was in danger. Scientology is no joke. They are bad people. So they did this in an attempt to read my mind. It became very attractive to them, my psychology, my ability to write. They started harassing me, threatening my life and my liberty. Then they started stealing my intellectual property. So it became apparent that they were invading my privacy. Everywhere I go, the public was invading my privacy. They could see what I see. So they could observe my study and my works of literature. They started stealing my intellectual property. Time went on, harassment got worse. And shortly after assimilation, I became very ill. So I could feel foreign objects shoved deep inside my ear, in my brain, in my neck, and my face. So I started going to the hospital to get scans done. They didn't see anything, but I could still feel it. The whole side of the whole my whole face warped, started to deform. And then the people around me started acting strange. My family members, my friends, my coworkers, my neighbors, my community, they all started acting very strange. And bad things would happen. Like a coworker or a friend would ask me for a ride, and we would get going down the road, and an animal would run out in front of us, and it totaled my car. This happened on several occasions. There's other people leading me into a dangerous environment, asking for favors. So as time went on, communication grew worse and worse. I became more ill, and the more I wrote, the more they practiced Scientology on me. So I started hearing voices and experiencing strange sensations, losing brain activity, becoming very sick and weak. So I wrote Crazy Bird Comics. I wrote the Environment Creation Agency or Environmental Control Agency. I wrote Divine Currency or Buffalo Dollars. I wrote Alien Bob, Bug Bob, and several other stories. And I continue to write. I think all the time about literature, about writing little stories, coming up with ideas and stories. If they're reading my thoughts. So then one day, I started, uh, I started to see things and hear things. I became very ill. I started to feel things being shoved inside of my head, uh, sensors being stuck into my brain. Then I started to see things. They gave me a screen, and then they modified my eyes so I could actually see these organisms in my environment. It was mostly worms, humans, insectoids, or bug people. And I could see a Nunnakai every once in a while, or a blue blood alien. I seen the greens and the grays and lizard people went to collect. So these Scientologists, they got to observe my thought process, my psychology, and they became extremely addicted to it. It became valuable to them because they were learning and making money off of reading my thoughts. So it started out as forced assimilation. Then it turned into intellectual property theft. Then it turned into biological theft. So they literally started removing brain and central nervous system because they wanted the ability to produce literature and to create in the same manner that I do. They wanted to utilize my psychology for themselves. They want to drive. These people are addicted to surrogate making and to using other people's body parts. Biology. This is Scientology. They have always been extremely violent. So they stole most of my extra dimensional biology. They utilized some of it for transplant purposes, especially brain tissue. So they literally removed my extra dimensional brains and stuck it in their own head to try to utilize my brain for themselves. Then they use some of it for surrogate purposes, and they're using other family members' biology as well. Because I'm part Native American, they think my genetics and my family's genetics are very valuable. They think this is some kind of genetic ability that I have. Mostly correct. I have inherent intelligence. I have an inherent philosophy, ability to philosophize. I am extremely intelligent. I can write. I have uh, a desire to participate in politics, to try to help the people around me develop and grow into our best selves. I want everybody to get everything they need to become their optimal selves. It is part of some kind of deep desire or some kind of genetic disposition. I understand the environment and how it works and how it affects the life within that environment. It is a native trait, a Native American trait. So now this has turned into a snuff film, tortured to death. These people are addicted to it too. So they are abusing their heavenly powers, the ability to see a biology functioning, see our brain and central nervous system functioning, our blood flow and our particle flow. They are abusing this ability to hurt me and my family and everyone else. So they see something working or functioning, they like to assault it using a worm or an object. They like to stick foreign objects inside of me to cause sickness and to interfere with biological function and to stop me from healing. So they're trying to stop the healing process from their assaults, their violence towards me. And then the most important aspect about Scientology and the afterlife is we experience time differently depending on where we are in the universe. So our third dimensions see time as a linear event. We experience seconds and minutes and hours, the days passing after one after another after another. The inverse or extra dimensional side experiences time as a simultaneous event. So they don't experience seconds, minutes, and hours. They experience the past, the present, and the future happening at the same time. And they can interact with the universe in this manner. So at this very moment, I'm being assimilated 13 years ago. And at this very moment, I'm being born. And at this very moment, they have turned my father into a surrogate. And he is giving me the name Christopher in the hospital. At this very moment, my father is a surrogate. Or that's not supposed to be my name. I'm supposed to be Robert Wayne Weathers, normal three name person. These people utilized their abilities to control my father to give me the name Christopher. There was conflict between my parents, but it happened. Now my name is Robert Christopher Wayne Weathers. Now I have four names. Also, they could come back to this very moment and justify their torture, mutilation, and abuse towards me and my family, and sell it to the Christians and the rest of society as some kind of Christian martyrdom. Because my intellectual property is an attempt to save the planet, and my behavior is an attempt to save the planet. They're going to torture me to death, some kind of Christian martyrdom, and try to say, now we're all free of all of our sins. It's all his fault. They lie rampantly. They're trying to come up with some false narrative which says I've done something wrong or I'm somehow responsible for their behavior towards me and the rest of society. And they're the ones that created Christianity. Scientology is. Because humans in the third dimension now has access to to time from the beginning to the end, or at least a long way back and a long way forward. So at this very moment, there are people in ancient society starting to hear voices and see humans in the sky. And this human is talking about Christ and talking about, or they are witnessing these entities do crimes against humanity, like cast floods and plagues upon mankind, kill massive amounts of people, entire populations. They preach sending people to hell and some kind of martyrdom, which somehow justifies their criminal behavior. And then they preach an apocalypse or the end of the world. This is Scientology. White people, Europeans, Americans. Americans are responsible for the Christian story, or at least they are a large player in it. You're breaking the law. I am extremely sick. So they're using some of my biology as transplants. Some of it is being utilized for surrogate purposes. Some of it they have installed into a machine so they can control it. They can utilize it for themselves and experience my neurology. They can watch me write my stories and they can sell seats to my mind space to other Scientologists for a fee. And everyone can witness this whole martyrdom story. And it's their source of entertainment. They like to torture and rape and murder people over and over again. It comes from the conditioning to remove body parts from people. They are literally conditioned to do this for a living. It is their employment and their hobbies, removing biology from people for Scientology purposes and for surrogate making purposes. And then they remove biology from people for their their storage system, their computer systems. They're doing this en masse to the public. They think this is okay behavior. It is very violent, unnatural. It causes sickness and dysfunction and weakness and dizziness among the people. It causes abnormal behavior. I'm being threatened. I am very sick. So they have literally watched my biology function. They have stole somebody's parts and assaulted others. I have extreme brain and central nervous system damage. They have mutilated my sexual organs and my brain tissue and my spinal column and my nervous system in every dimension. The Christian God is a Scientologist. He's an alien, a human afterlife that has been mutilated and modified to give access to a person on earth. There is someone among the living playing God among the human race. This has all happened within the last 60 years. Ever since Scientology came onto the field, people have been experiencing alien contact. They've been dreaming of extra-dimensional organisms. Started seeing lizard people and insectoids, and the greens and the grays and the blues. People are started having out-of-body experiences, which is a Scientology practice. And then people wake up far away from their homes, out in some field or out in the middle of the woods somewhere, missing time, which is probably a surrogate practice. Someone turned this person into a surrogate and drove them somewhere, and they woke up not knowing what happened. This is very real. This is a real aspect of our reality. Today, I've experienced a lot of extra dimensional uh, damage and third dimensional damage. So they're using some of my biology for transplants, especially brain tissue, some of it for surrogate purposes. So they're trying to merge my body parts with other humans' body parts to create a functioning organism. And so some of it they're using for a torture device. These people are psychotic, delusional. They have extreme irritability. They're extremely irritable. They think it's okay to be violent. They think it's okay to put their hands on people. They think it's okay to modify our biologies or damage it. No, this is damage, torture. They have pettiness and jealousy issues. So they don't want me to have the ability to write or create. It makes them jealous. And then they get petty. They don't want me to have my own body parts, which they see as a commodity. They see other people's organs and tissues and biology as a commodity, something in which they can use themselves or they can use it to make money. It is an object of their employment, other people's body parts. These are Dr. Kevorkians. The humans are the aliens. The aliens are remote controlled. Someone on Earth is driving an alien. A bunch of people are. This is Scientology. I am very sick. They are premeditating our deaths. And then because of this entanglement property, I am still experiencing my extra dimensions. And they plan to torture it in my afterlife. So they plan to send me to hell. They are harming my pets and other family members. They have already murdered two or three family members. They died unexpectedly of organ damage, which I suspect is or organ failure and organ damage, which I suspect is parasites. otherwise healthy people. I'm getting victim shamed and harassed. So the people involved in this event, Mississippi Public Broadcasting, the authors of the Today Mississippi Today magazine, NPR, Facebook, Microsoft, Google, Barack Obama, people in the FBI, the CIA, the military, especially the Navy and the National Guard, but other branches are also involved. Yes, they get to witness me right. I have a very visual thinking process. I visualize, uh, like part of the Crazy Bird story is he's a biologist, a theoretical evolution, uh, biological engineer. So humans have destroyed most of the life on this planet, and my superhero character, he is trying to increase life on this planet, even if that means creating new ecosystems, new species. He has a plan to uh, create food forest. Like instead of cutting down trees and removing them from the forest, maybe we cut down a percentage of the trees, turn them into sawdust, and put it into the ground, into the forest, and then inoculate the ground with good bacteria and earthworms and funguses, and then plant fruit and nut trees to increase wildlife population and to help the microbiome become healthy again. This fights off parasites and viruses because it creates good organisms that fill the niche. We do this on land and in the ocean. That's part of the Crazy Bird comics. Aliens are not facing the right direction. Dead people go that way. The aliens are looking this way. This way is for the living. That way is for the dead. You can't face this way. If you do, you got to go away. You can't mess with the living. The dead can't mess with the living. It is illegal. You become a foreign and domestic enemy. It's they are destroying the world and life on this planet. We literally turn around when we die. We turn around. We go to the 11th dimension. These people are facing the wrong way. I am extremely sick. I have had severe brain and central nervous system today. Intellectual property theft. Other humans on Earth thinking they can own another human. They kidnap. They force assimilation. They force people to practice Scientology or they practice Scientology on you. These people want to drive. They want to drive you. They want to experience it for themselves. Your influence, your power, authority. These people want to be cops and CIA agents, Secret Service agents. They want to be military personnel. They want to be politicians. They want to do it all themselves. This is what has happened in my case. Now they're trying to set me up and kill me and get away with it and steal my intellectual property. torture, rape. Now they have me on life support. So you can't damage or remove extra dimensional biology without having some kind of life support system. You literally have to use transplants and technology and devices to keep yourself functioning. I am extremely sick. I am weak and dizzy. I get harassed constantly, and it is literally tortured to death. They won't stay away from me and my animals and my family. They literally think they can put their hands on me 24/7. They are watching my biology function, and they like to assault me wherever I'm functioning properly. They can even they have me assimilated so they can read my thoughts. They're trying to steal brain tissue for themselves, my memories and my patterns, my thought processes. They want to put it on another human being or install it into a computer system in which they can try to utilize for themselves. And then they want to take control of me in the afterlife. So they still want to watch my thoughts in the afterlife. They are addicted to it, reading my mind. So they want to torture me and send me to hell and just watch me think. They are addicted to watching me think. They do it 24/7 nonstop. They are learning a lot and they are stealing intellectual property. This girl from Mississippi Public Broadcasting, she's the one that's supposed to be in control of my biology in the afterlife. I have a right to die. If I die, I don't want to be artificially stimulated. I want to die. I want to cease to exist. It is my right. I have a right to live and I have a right to die. I don't want to be artificially stimulated in the afterlife. Someone said, yes, no, I have a right to live and I have a right to die. Yes, they think my psychology is so valuable. Just watching me think. They're going to try to keep me stimulated forever and watch me think over and over again. One of them's holding my brain tissue. Says it's in this brain tissue. All I got to do is stimulate it and you start thinking. And we get to watch it and observe it and come up with ideas, steal your ideas and your thought patterns. So once these Scientologists remove their extra dimensions from themselves and create their upper dimensional biologies, they 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 severed their anchor to space time. So our third dimensions are anchored into space time. We can't fall through space time. We are stuck in this rate of expansion. So they remove their extra dimensions and take it to a place where the rate of expansion is different. And they start to grow. They start to expand greatly compared to us. And they become giant. They become very big compared to us. Now they have a God complex. And they treat us like little Barbie dolls. I'm very sick. I'm experiencing loss of brain function, cognitive difficulties, weakness, and dizziness. I'm full of parasites and torture devices. They keep sticking stuff in me to make me sick and destroying biology. Yes, I became very ill shortly after assimilation. I have done nothing wrong. They are they are making petty things like drug use seem like a very bad thing, and they exacerbate drug use. Yes, any excuse they can to continue to read my mind, continue to be here, continue to torture me, and to continue to premeditate my death. Any excuse they can.